Welcome back to another episode of Who Am I to Judge podcast. I'm Alexis.
And I am Samantha. It's officially 50 times that we have said that.
50 consistent weeks. I'm impressed.
I'm impressed with us and our listeners.
Thank you,
who have been on
listeners.
this road with us. 50 weeks. It's crazy. Does it feel like 50 weeks to you?
It doesn't. Things are definitely flying, and even just knowing that a year is coming up, I'm just this has flown.
It's been a crazy ride. We've just been
flying by the seat of our pants.
Yes.
But learning along the way, which is great as well, right?
Yeah. And it's amazing to be able to say that you've done anything for 50 weeks,
that's really true. That's really true.
Consistent.
Yes, I'm proud of us. But how are you today?
Yes, I am good today. I worked from home, which I was so happy about because I haven't worked. I've been at the studio for days.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I was just happy to be home. That was literally, and just to be with Jupiter. Okay, so yes, that's how I'm doing. I was happy to just be with Jupiter. I had to leave him a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
I know, just during the day. I was I miss my baby. And I'm jealous of my baby. He was sleeping all day. I have a little camera in my living room. But he was not on the camera. That means he was in the bed. It was rainy and cozy. It was just the perfect.
It was a rainy day. Interesting.
Oh my God, both days.
Yesterday was rainy for me. Today was just extremely windy.
I know. How
cold.
Is it windy in New York?
Awful. Literally, I was when sometimes, and maybe this just happens to me, but when you're it's really windy outside and you're breathing normally, right? So you're inhaling, you're exhaling. The minute the wind comes, I feel it knocks your exhale out, and you feel you can't breathe. You feel you're literally. I feel that happens to me a lot where I'm because I never got the exhale out, but literally that happened to me today. But
oh my God,
it was windy.
You might be a mouth breather then.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Because I'm just
it has happened to me before, but I don't. It doesn't happen as much.
That could be it.
I do it has been very windy. Little specks of shit is in the air, flying in my eyes.
Extremely windy, and so it was really cold today. But my day was good. I woke up early, did a workout class. So I'm kind of tired from that, and then I came home. I had work. Unfortunately, the company was closed, but a fucking client wanted to meet today, so I had to do work in preparation for this. So
I'm sorry.
I tried to relax for the first half of the day. The second half of the day, I did work and then walked for the dogs. Then I cooked. And then I made myself a chocolate fondue because I had got some pineapples, so I cut them out and dipped them in the chocolate. It was so good.
I need to do that.
Yes, I just bought some pineapples that were already pre-cut, and then I just got some Hershey chocolate chips, and then I just put it in the thing and melted them. It was so good.
Sounds delicious. I actually had a very good mango the other day, and it's just sometimes you got to just let somebody know when you have
sometimes you got to eat some fruit.
Great piece of fruit when it's
absolutely hitting. And then but then yeah, today's been pretty good. But in celebration of our 50th, we're going to do some more getting to know you questions. So just so everyone knows, I've seen these questions probably for the a couple of minutes before Samantha. So I do have just to put that there. This is on the fly for Samantha. Yes. But also these are interesting questions. They're
I forgot
quirky.
That I haven't heard them. I'm oh shit.
They're quirky, and they're also they also are a little bit, we get to know you with it, right? So
are you gonna make me cry?
I'll start with the easiest one. Let's start there.
Okay.
What's the best decision you've made today?
As in
anything.
February 17th.
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah. Just thinking about your day.
go on 2 nice long walks with Jupiter.
Ooh.
Probably like that probably sums up all of the decision making and like, I want to be with nature and be in the moment and, talk to God and stuff. And I feel like I do all that stuff on my walks and yeah. So I'll say
I
that.
love that.
What about you?
The best decision I made today, that freaking pineapple chocolate thing. I feel
Oh,
like because it was just
girl,
like
that song was good.
it
I
was
know you were
good and it
smacking.
hit a spot and I feel like
Okay.
like I told you like a couple like earlier, maybe I didn't tell you this, but early when I had last had my last cholesterol, I think I told you, I mean my last physical, they said my cholesterol was high. They referred me to a nutritionist.
Oh yeah.
So I went to the nutrition, I'm actually going to her in 2 weeks, but I went earlier last month and so I've been like eating differently, and so this
Right.
was kind of one of those things where it was just kind of like it fit with the program but was also just like self-care. It's like I
Mhm.
needed something sweet, I didn't deny it, I just like remixed it in a way
Mhm.
that I normally would, and it just made me feel successful but also just like satisfied.
Yes, I love that feeling. And I
Okay.
do love getting creative in the kitchen.
Hell yeah. Okay, what about this? What do most people overestimate or underestimate about you? You can do both. What do
Ooh,
people overestimate you about, and what do people underestimate you about?
it's very interesting. I'm like, am I going to answer this for my ego? Like, what do people underestimate me about?
If you need time to think, I can go first on this one.
I think I have it. So, like, I feel like sometimes people underestimate, like, my kind of like sportsman. Like,
Mm.
I'm like good at stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like or like I'll
Mm-hmm.
have like beginners. Yeah, I'm athletic, I would
Yes.
say. Like and like if I and also like a little competitive. I feel like I'm just like a good person to have on a team
Mm-hmm.
for athletic reasons. And I feel like people
Absolutely.
probably would like underestimate me, but it's just like actually I'm probably gonna be able to do this. But
And
so that I would say, and then
then overestimate.
overestimate. This is the first thing that came to me. um, People probably overestimate because I'm very kind and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I am like I even like when people, you know, do something in my perspective like that to hurt me or whatever. Like I
Mm-hmm.
try to see their point of view. Like I'm just
Mm-hmm.
that type of person that needs to like give a 360 of like, okay, like why would they do this or whatever. But I do feel like people sometimes probably take my kindness for weakness and feel like
Mm.
I'm not going to like stand up for myself or like draw hard
Mm-hmm.
boundaries. And I've had to do that in my life. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I think yeah, maybe that.
I love that, and I think
Yeah, I want
I
to.
agree with everything you're saying.
Okay, good.
um, I think
What
for
about
overestimate for me, I think people think I'm cooler than I am. Like, and I'm not saying people think I'm like the coolest person ever, but like literally yesterday, I remember I was just thinking this. Like, Julie and I were driving to Costco, and I was like singing, like we had listened to like the Chicks, and then we had listened to, remember that song from Legally Blonde, it's like Perfect Day.
yes.
We like listened to
Nothing
that.
can beat it.
Yes. And
Yeah.
then I was like, and then like Aladdin was on when we got home, and I was like singing all the all the songs because obviously we know Aladdin, right?
Yes.
And she was
Okay.
just like, if someone could just like see like what the type of morning you just had. We were listening to the Chicks, watched you sing Aladdin, and then you were like singing this, and I was like, right, like I just don't think I read like kind of like weird in this way. Like I think people who know me, I expose that side to, but I think some people when they meet me off face value, they wouldn't think that I'm like in that just quirky in that manner. Until
Interesting.
they get to know me, and then I think once they get to know me, they're like, oh.
So what people think you like just listen to like Meg the Stallion and
I don't
yeah.
know if they think that, because this is the thing. When you have locks and a septum piercing, people think you're listening to like Cleo Soul. You know what I'm saying? They think you're listening to like
Uh, I
India
forget how
Ari.
you exist, with
Yeah.
just people meet.
Erica Badu, they think I'm pulling tarot cards. They think I'm more like you.
Right? I'm like, sis, oh
And
my
so it's interesting
God.
because I feel like I'm like a pop girly. I'm like, I'm playing Sims
Right.
at home. Like, so I feel like that's the thing.
That's so
Um,
funny.
I think underestimate.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for this might not be necessarily true to other people, but I think internally, I've always felt like I've had to fight that I was like to prove that I was like smart and competent. And so I feel like some people, and I think that's part of the reason why I always say I got the PhD, because I'm not necessarily doing anything with. I mean, I guess I'm doing research, but like I didn't become a professor, and it's like it was more so just for me to like prove like yes I am this, and bow down bitches basically. And so
So
I
that was why you got the second
part
one.
of the motivating
Yes.
force.
I
And so
mean,
I
give me
feel
the
like
motivation.
people underestimate that I'm smart. Like I think sometimes people write it off because I'm funny and I'm
Mhm.
and I'm silly, and so they're just like whatever but it's like no, I'm actually a smart person. So I
Mhm.
think that's what I
I
think.
would agree as well.
What do you love most in your life right now, or who?
um, that's so
I already know
hard.
mine.
Okay, you go.
Mellow.
Yeah. I know. Jupiter was like the first thing that popped in my head.
Mellow. I don't think, I mean, I've
Aw.
always said Mellow unlocked a different level of love for me. Like, I feel like, and this is really sad to say, but it's like, I feel like there are people in my life I love. Obviously, my family I love a lot. But I do think there was a certain, and I think this comes with being immature and being young and being the youngest, that there was
Mhm.
certain, like, not conditions, I don't like that word, but it was limits possibly. And I think
Mhm.
Mello, like, truly unlocked, like, an unconditional love that I've never, like,
Mm.
truly, I feel like, have fully
Yes.
given in a way, because I
Mhm.
feel like I realized that, this is kind of like a child. Like you can't give her back. You can't like, it's like
And
you're gonna have
she
to love her.
loves you
Right.
unconditionally
And
too.
it's like I had all these expectations for Mello, and her personality was totally opposite of all my expectations. And
Mhm.
it was kind of accepting her as her own. And so I just feel like she unlocked this whole unconditional love thing that I've never really embraced, maybe. So yeah, I feel like because of that, I have a lot of, obviously I love her the most.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. I don't know. It is connections with these amazing animals are just so crazy, and it's hard to describe it until you actually like experience for yourself. I would say, I guess I would say Jupiter, but my thing is like with
Danielle's
Jupiter,
staring at you
I
like,
know,
bitch.
but I'm also really thinking her. I'm really thinking Danielle too, because I feel like with Jupiter, it is like I'm his mother.
Hmm.
It's like I be needing my dog mom breaks.
Hmm.
And I'm probably in more of that season right now than I
Hmm.
am like, I mean, you guys know that I cuddle and tell this dog that he is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I'm just so I just adore him all day, all all day that I'm with him. But he's my baby, and I have to like, he just is gonna drive me a little crazy sometimes. But my sister is just my favorite person, like she is just truly, I just so grateful for her. And I'm just like, I just love our converse. I know I wouldn't, but I'm just like, I do feel like it's hard to just say one person because I feel like I just love my people so much. So grateful for y'all.
That's
Anyway,
why it says right
that's
now in this moment.
okay. Well, in this moment, I'm gonna say Danielle because I'm so happy that she's here. I always get so happy when Danielle comes over.
Okay, I have two or three more, but they're good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can think about this one in like pop culture, or you're just, I guess, yeah, pop culture in the media. What's a moment you love to be a fly on the wall for?
You already know what the first thing popped in my head.
What? I wonder
the
if we have the same one.
elevator.
Me too.
That is what I want to know. That
What
is
specifically do you want to know?
everything. I want to know what was said, what it was about, why it was happening, and just what everybody mumbled and said.
I
Okay.
agree with everything you
I
just
just
said.
hope that, like, now that I'm really thinking about it, I hope that I have the context. Like, maybe I'll just like want to be like the fly on the wall for the whole night.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The night that day went. They also said there's some dust on her dress.
I know, right? No, I agree with everything you said. That's my answer too.
Yeah.
What age do you feel like?
Woo! That is an embarrassing question. I'm like mentally or like physically.
However you want to take it.
I do feel like an old soul, but I also really relate to my inner child and my inner teenager a lot in terms of just like kind of who's running the show at this point. Which I do, not at all times. Obviously I'm an adult and I have to live and I have a job and I have people that depend on me and dogs and things. But in my, Jupiter, in my um my leisure time, like what I would like to be doing is I definitely feel like more like I feel like my mind is still young, or like I just still
Mm-hmm.
want to feel sorry, Callie's making me laugh. Want to feel young and like be interested and like
Mm-hmm.
don't but I at the same time I am not trying to be outside all the time either.
Yeah, I
Like
get you.
I guess I just like
Maybe
to
you
be
just feel in your 30s.
yeah, maybe I feel my baby. That's exactly where I am. I was like, my body's a little different. I am tired. Okay, my body, I need to do more exercise and stretching because I have pain on a regular basis. But, hey. What about you, Alexis?
Same. I feel in my 30s. Like I don't want to be at a club. I don't want to be out past me. I want to be in bed by 11:30. I want to be watching
Mhm.
TV. I want to rot on the couch. I don't want
You want to watch WNBA
I want
games?
to watch the WNBA games. I want to play my Switch, but I want to have enough money to get my hair done. I want to have enough money to get my
Right.
nails done. I want to have enough money to see my friends. I feel in my 30s. And that's how I feel. Obviously, and I feel in my early 30s, right? I feel like,
Yeah,
I
I
can
do
be
too.
a
I feel
dog
like
mom. I don't feel like I can be a mom right now, like a human mom. I feel just good. I feel like how I am. And I feel like how my body feels like it's the early 30s as well.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
here's my last
I
question.
love it.
This is probably kind of dark to end on, but it's interesting to know someone from. Do you have any vices?
You guys are watching me through my life every week. Um, well, I have a few vices for sure. I love the marijuana, and it's something that I do. I've had a long relationship with. Also TV. Like I love, just like watching a good show. Although I have TikTok mind a little bit, and it's TV does not entertain me that much.
I feel
But
that.
I'm also just in a like I am just absorbing so much information. Like I want to watch something that's educational most of the
Okay.
time, or that like I'm learning something, or I'm
Hmm.
like having to think. And then I would say that's probably it. Like those two
Hmm.
probably go hand in hand with my vices. Also, today randomly, this is like a funny vice. I like can't live without sparkling water at this point.
That's
I spend
hilarious.
so much money on sparkling water. I was like, okay, Samantha, you need to go get one of those carbonated machines
Literally
and
make
start
that
making
shit.
your own shit because this is ridiculous. So yeah. What about
Definitely sweet. I'm a
you?
sucker
Ooh,
for a sweet
that's
treat.
true. Lord.
Um, I would
I forgot
say
about it. Sorry.
rotting on the couch. Like if I could do that every day, all day, I would do it. And once I get started, I can't get. I have to be peeled off the couch, like literally.
Aw.
Um, my PlayStation 5 currently has been taking all my fucking time. Um, that's another vice. And I'm trying to think if I have any other vices. TikTok. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
TikTok.
What do you watch
Um,
on TikTok again? I would love to just see what you feed.
one day we'll do a live episode because me and Samantha have talked about we're gonna do a photo shoot coming up soon for our 1 year,
We have
and
lots.
maybe we'll film some content with our manager where we'll look through our TikToks and
Yeah, that would be
have a
fun.
reaction.
Yes, that'd be fun.
But those are all my
Brandon.
questions. Hope you got to know us better.
I know. I hope that was informative. Okay, so
Let's get to it. Samantha, what or who is on trial?
we are going to go ahead and put HillmanTok on trial today and the
Yes.
so-called administrators and staff that have,
So, what is going on with HillmanTok? Talk to us.
Yes. So apparently, this was brought to my attention this morning. I actually wasn't hip that this was happening this weekend, but apparently, a TikTok creator named Jasmine, who I've actually been following for a long time. I was telling Danielle, like, I was like, oh my God, her locks are so long. Like, I remember just like when I first started following her. And she's like a spiritual girly and a black woman. And she was getting in on the TikTok, like the Hillman TikTok, and she was putting on an event in Atlanta and saying like, "Hey, like Hillman Talk, we're gonna meet up and we're gonna do this. We're gonna actually like the tickets are going to go to actual students. Like it was gonna be a real life event, where she was gonna do whatever, teach them about something, or just get people together in real life." And then apparently there's another creator that says that they are the founder of HillmanTok, that like how can this person like come on here and act like they've created this and they didn't. And then yes, for those that don't know what HillmanTok is, so HillmanTok is a recent phenomenon, TikTok phenomenon, that a teacher, what was the teacher's name, the first lady,
I
Danielle's
don't
looking
know
it
her
up.
name.
She was a doctor, a professor that was making a TikTok for her real students. So, yes, a professor was, she was putting her syllabus up. This is like where some of her students were going to get their Dr. Barlow, yes. So,
Mm-hmm.
people found her videos on the algorithm and we're like, oh, I'm ready. They were like, I'm ready for class. Like, sign me up. Like, where do I get the syllabus? Like, I cannot wait to learn about this. I think it was like an African American studies class. Is it
Mm-hmm.
starting at like, beginning of Black History Month or like around, we're just all riled up and ready to go as the 92% and the 85, I think, whatever. So then everyone from different fields, Black people, were like, okay, like we're gonna do, forensics 101, spirituality 101, accounting 101, mental health 101, gardening 101. Like everybody just in their specific fields were like offering, sharing information, and like some people got really into it and like we're really teaching different people. Like, I mean, I don't even know how many people I subscribe to. Like, I was like, oh, I want to learn about that. No, I'm following. So then we found out, like, I remember hearing whispers about a white woman had like the, what is it? Like the trademark or something for the name. And then apparently, I didn't even know this, that they now have like a logo, or what is this thing? Like a
This has gone so far. Yeah.
crest and like a website and
Mm-hmm.
like, and now somebody's saying that they're the founder, and it's just like, how are you the founder?
They did found the founder.
How?
They started it. Like, this woman started HillmanTok after Dr. Barlow, like, created the community. That lady that was, like, talking.
But how did she start it if it was like, okay, people,
Well,
it was an
Hillman-
organic thing? And
HillmanTok, like, she gave
oh,
it a
okay,
name.
she gave it a name. Okay, so this lady gave it a name.
Mhm.
Okay, so that makes a little bit more sense.
Mhm, mhm.
However, I do think it was an organic thing that the community
It was.
did.
She didn't like rile up teachers.
It was like,
Mhm.
okay, the
But I
name.
think maybe she got the website. Maybe,
Okay,
you know?
yes.
She
If
had the TikTok.
I get it, but you still don't, like, she created, like, you know, the TikTok, the
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but it's like you still don't own it because it wasn't anything to own. You know, like you named
Yeah.
it, but it should still be
It's not
the
yours.
at Danielle, shut up. Like, it's just like, you can't own this because it's like, just because you put a name to it and that's what took off. And I just think that, like, who are you to be like, oh, you can't have an event with this? Like, it starts to get into that same thing of capitalism and just not the spirit of what this was about in general. And it's like, you should actually be happy that people are like taking it out into real life.
Exactly.
And it's like, how do you, like, you think you're just gonna profit off of this? Like, okay, well, fuck it, we're not gonna call it Hillman TikTok anymore. Like,
I
you know
think
what I'm
that
saying?
that's what
Like,
it comes down to
do
for
you want
me.
it to be called that or not? Like,
Yeah, it kind of goes to show, and I get it, right? Everybody wants recognition for their work or whatever, but it goes to, if that's the biggest issue for you, rather than the, not issue, but if that's the most important thing to you, rather than the fact that like it has garnered a whole community, it's like taking a life on its own,
educating
it's
people
educating, it's pulling out
in this time.
scholarships, right? They're putting on events, and the main thing you want to say is that like, well, I started it. It just to me shows that the real mission for this person wasn't at all the outcomes, but more so like the fact that they can profit off of it and they can say that they own this.
That's crazy.
And also, I'm like, do you really own it if you didn't do the work? Like, I don't know. Like,
exactly. You just, like, we are creative people. Like, and I feel like people, and I don't expect, because I feel like this gets into the whole thing of like, because I do feel like people have not gotten their credit for different things.
mm-hmm.
Like the girl that said, what did she say? She said something about like on fleek.
Mm-hmm.
She was the on fleek girl. You know, that like went crazy and like, you know, and
in like the renegade dance, I'm thinking about with TikTok
yeah.
and all the white girls doing it. And
yes. And so I get that. But the thing about this is that it is not like what was happening was, I just feel like it was not something to own. And I think it was a good example of how, when we're community building, like what the intention has to be with
yeah.
even like, okay, yes, like it takes off, great, but partner with those people, be like, oh my god, you're doing an event, like we want to send y'all stuff, sell it at the thing, like, you know what I'm saying, like we want to support you, how can we get in contact with you, like, you know, this
and also
person,
I feel like, oh,
yeah.
sorry, finish.
No,
I also just feel like in essence, HillmanTok, from what I'm hearing, is pretty much all of, we could put the umbrella of just like all of Black TikTok in there. You know, anytime we're all like coming together as a community, fellowshipping, you know, I would say, what's the word? Like, I guess you'll just say talking about different topics, educating each other. I mean, that's what we do on Black TikTok. So to me, I feel like the whole space it's pretty much HillmanTok. And so it's just like, you can't really like say you started that, you created that. Maybe you like, I don't know, had the name, but I feel like,
but also, I just thought about the fact that Hellman is on a different
Mm-hmm.
world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
And so many people
like
have used
so
this
you just
term
like you could buy a Hillman sweatshirt
from Urban
wherever.
Outfitters.
Yes, or just like from, black creators and black brands and stuff.
And I could
And
have
it's like, so
sworn,
you just threw the word talk on the end, and
yes,
now you feel
you should get
like
$1 million.
what, girl? Like
You should get all the streams
you
for it.
actually need to be quiet before, a different world is like, bitch, what are you fucking
And just other people, like I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's Lena Waithe. Either Lena Waithe is on the board or something, but it's like called it Hillman Productions, and it's like
Yes.
it's like their production
You're
company
about
or
to get a
their.
cease and desist.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you don't own the term. Maybe you brought it to TikTok and used it as a space to educate Black people, but I also feel like Black TikTok is pretty much HillmanTok. That's what we do in this space. So to claim ownership over it would be
Yes, it's like
extremely weird.
a sub genre of black.
But ownership is just interesting to me in general. Like, I don't know, Julia, I feel like pushes my thinking on it a lot. And just like, I feel like also here in New York, just thinking about ownership is very interesting to me because, like, I feel like it's a very white thing to do is to like
To
claim ownership
own
over things you
something.
don't actually own or you have no rights to, or to just be super pressed about claiming stuff. I don't know.
Absolutely. This is a we come I always just go back to like we come to can you hear Callie?
Mm-mm.
Okay, good. We come to this earth the same way. Nobody can explain like how we got here.
What does this have to do with owning?
Because it's just like you don't own like, you know what
Mm.
I'm saying? Like, it's just like you
Well,
really
you know
don't own
what?
anything.
It's interesting you say that because I actually have been thinking about this, and I mean, it hasn't
And you're
changed my
also gonna
thoughts.
die one day. So
Right, it hasn't changed my thoughts, but this is something I've been thinking about. So, especially living here in New York, so like this idea of like owning property, and I was like, I mean, one of my goals I always say is to own an apartment in New York, but I was just kind of like, I don't know. I feel like as I get older, the idea of ownership it changes for me because I'm like, because I was just thinking like, okay, I'll own it. Will I be able to pay it off before I die? What if I don't pay it off before I die? Then just this debt goes to my kids, or my kids sell it. Like, it's like, do I really ever own something? It's like,
hmm
for example, my grandparents, they owned a house my mom's parents owned a house in DC, really beautiful home, and we sold it to like pay for the heart surgery for my grandmother. And I'm just
hmm
like, my mom grew up in this house, right? Like when, came back to visit this house when she was in college, yada yada. I remember going to it when I was a kid. And then it's sold and it's no longer ours. It's just like, do you ever really own anything unless it's like at the end of the day you die, you know what I'm saying? It's never fully yours, I guess, because it
hmm
either goes to someone else, you either can't afford it and you sell it to a new person, but it's like
hmm
you can't take anything with you. So is it really,
hmm
what's the like, I guess, what's the hype around owning when you
I
actually
think it is.
never
I think it
own?
is a lie for comfort and
Yeah.
for like it's kind of like what people say about like legacy and stuff, which I do feel is a
What do people
thing.
say about legacy?
They're just like
You gotta have a legacy. Is that what
yeah,
they
it's
say?
like I was like I gotta have a kid so I can leave my legacy behind, and
Okay.
like,
Mm-hmm.
or I like want to leave a legacy
Mm-hmm.
behind of like people will say this about me or whatever, which is admirable in a way, but also it's like none of this really matters at the end of the day, and like the memories of years and years will erase everybody most likely, and it's
It's
like,
just so
but
interesting.
I do think it's a very white supremacist, that like the white narcissism, and it's crazy because one thing I'm also learning is just like
Well,
how
hold on. I
we
just have one thought to that.
mhm mhm
Like, and it's interesting because I remember having a conversation with someone and they were like, well, you don't get your rent money back. And I was like, true. But then I was like, you also don't get your mortgage back because eventually you're gonna die. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like you're gonna pay your mortgage for 20 years and then you die. It's pretty much like, and then you die, and what happens? Do they sell the home, or like, you know, either way you don't get that money back. And so I was just kind of like, what is the hype?
It's funny too. We actually were watching this movie called Here. Danielle put me onto this movie on Netflix, and it is like kind of surrounding this house. I didn't get to the end yet, but it's like going through different time periods. They start with like dinosaurs, and then they have like
interesting.
they have
Oh, is it
like
with Tom Hanks?
yes,
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 I know what
yes.
you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's literally that. It's
Going
just
through
like
his life, right? Or that person's
yes,
life. Yeah.
like his life, but there's all these other people that have lived there before and after him, or just was in that space at that time, you know? And so it is just like, yeah, like, and I think that probably was the point of that movie, is just like, here is here now, and it will never be like that again. You know, like you occupy this space like while you're here, but it is inevitable to change, become different as time goes on. But
yeah, and I guess it just like nothing is permanent. And so I guess that's like something that I was just thinking about. Like I was just like, okay, I'm gonna spend all like, and I'm not saying this is dissuading me, you know, from owning whatever, but it's like I feel like okay, you pay, you know, you do your best to get a mortgage, you know, buy a house, spend all this money, and you pay a mortgage every month. And then eventually you're, you know, very few people pay off their mortgage, right? Like their lifetime. And then you die with, there's still this debt on the house. Like, did you actually ever own it if you never fully paid for it? You know what I'm saying? And I guess in my mind, I'm like,
no,
where does this money, like, okay, you then invested all this money for you to never own it. And it's kind of like renting it, like renting, but in a different way where it's like, for now, for my lifetime, I own it, but then it goes to the next buyer once I die. It's just like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like, it's kind of all fake.
So if you don't own the house outright, so like if you die and you still have a mortgage, you can pass that debt on to somebody else?
Look, I am no fucking house person, but I believe you can. I think the bank, like
Like
technically the
insurance,
bank
like
owns
life.
it,
The
right? Like,
bank definitely owns
and
it.
it's like, yes. So I think if you pass the house, look, we don't know, listeners, but I think your debt can go to other people.
Yeah, it definitely can.
Let me tell you. Can I just say something?
Danielle wants to say something to me real quick. Second.
That is the whole issue why, like, life insurance is such a big thing. Like, within telling Black people, it's a benefit because when Black people don't have life insurance, then they do take on all the cost of the person who's dying. So that's
what life.
Very true.
So yeah, Danielle was saying that life insurance. That's why life insurance is so important, because then you protect the people, like when you do, like if you do pass, like that they don't get you don't get all their debt basically.
So then what happens to the house? Like, say you didn't finish paying off your house, they don't get the debt. Who pays for it? Or it just goes on the market?
Well,
that's they write that in their will and stuff. So yeah, but it's definitely still a process of like, it doesn't like, you know, you're still having to, whoever they give the house to owes the money on it. But
so it's
I
kind
don't
of
know
like you're
how.
claiming dibs on something, on an object, but you never fully own it. You know, I feel like the only thing I feel like I've ever like truly owned was my previous car that my parents got for my dad. When my dad lost his license, they gave the car to me. By the time the car came to me, it was completely paid off. So it was just kind of like, I can do what I want with this car. You know what I'm saying? No, I brought it with me to Milwaukee, brought it with me to Austin, and it died, you know. No, it didn't die. I then gave it to Kizzy, my grandfather's old caretaker, and she now has the car. But it was like, I truly could do whatever I wanted with that car, like, you know. And so it's just like, and I chose to give it to Kizzy for free, you know, and just, you know, we went down to the DMV and made sure the title was changed and everything else like that. And so it's just like I say, with that, it's just interesting because I feel like there's this big hype over ownership with everything we do, rather with its property, with its cars, with its businesses. But I feel like there's very few things that you can just outright own. There's always some type of like catch to it. And so that's why I'm like, I'm curious what the hype around it is when it's kind of this like false false dibs,
Yeah.
you know?
I do. I will say that I watched this interesting TikTok about like owning media and how apparently Amazon is like taking away the ability or something to own your books on Kindle or something like that. And so it's interesting that like the person in the TikTok was basically saying that capitalists are kind of shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to that, because when you own something, it's almost like the person is investing in that thing. Like you
Mm,
have the CD, it's like you buy the
mm-hmm,
book, it's on your shelf, like
mm-hmm.
you are really. And it's also like free promotion, like now when we go to find a movie or something, it's like you gotta like go and find it. Like it might not be just, like you really gotta look for stuff. If like when other people had movie collections, or I would say books more so now, but like it's like free promotion, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I do feel like stuff like that, I do feel like there's value. I feel like owning it, I feel like everything in life, you're just not going to be here forever. So it's like you just technically don't own anything. but
Exactly.
but I do feel like while you're living, the things that you are in your possession at the time can be like powerful things, I guess. But
Yeah,
I
that's a
do
good
feel like
point.
we should be more giving and like sharing, and you know what I mean? Like just not so
It's just interesting because
isolated.
even like, I mean, Julie and I talk about this all the time, but like people in the suburbs, because we hate suburb people. So, so people in the suburbs, like, they're
Alexis.
so pressed to be like, oh, well, I don't live in the city because I have a house. Like, I have all this space. But then it's just like, okay, but you don't use the backyard. You don't go into your basement. Like, I don't know. I think about like literally, I'll just talk about my personal experience. Like my parents, we have a, middle class home with a basement with the backyard. We use that backyard once every year, probably. Okay. And that's probably for when we have a cookout. Okay. Other than that, we
Mellow
never
runs
go.
back there.
Sorry. Now that we have Mello, whenever I come home, reruns back there. Prior to Mello is once every year. The basement, the only person that goes in that basement is my dad when he plays his music. He goes every day. No one else uses it though. We might as well just have a closet for him. Everybody
We
else,
used
the
to
other
go
space,
down there.
once in a while. But what I'm saying is like there's this like I feel like there's this like everyone's like, well, I have all this space, I'll have this space, and like I can't live there because I need space. But it's like you own all this space to not use it. You just want the rights to say you have it, which I feel like is an interesting like
I mean, I
thought.
guess I do get the wanting your own space. Like
Yeah,
I get apartment living gets old. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
you don't always want to just share the same space, literally. Like, I think about
What do
it
you mean
sometimes.
share the same space? Like,
Well,
oh,
I
with
just
other
think,
people in the building, you're saying?
yes. Like I
Okay.
think about it
If
sometimes,
that's
like
all you know, because I feel like there are people here, millions of people here, that's all they know.
I
So
know,
there's
I
nothing
get
to
it, but
miss.
I get the desire. I feel like some people that have lived in apartments all their life, they might be like, "Man, I can't wait to like have my own space." Like
Hmm.
have just some breathing room that you're not like next to people. I don't mind. Like I'm not saying that that's me, but I
Yeah.
am saying that it comes with its things. Like if you live under somebody, you're going to always hear somebody above you and whatever. So I get the idea of having land and space to, just do your own thing on and not be so affected by other people. Because I do think about sometimes I'm just like, if somebody else in their apartment like starts a fire, like
Hmm.
it affects me, like, and like
But that's the same with
obviously
houses.
I know, Alexis, but it's
You saw
more,
the
it's
California fires.
okay, but it's more of a change. Like it's just obviously anything can happen to anybody at any time, but I do just worry sometimes it's out of my control. Like when I leave Jupiter home and I'm just like,
Absolutely.
it's just like I'm not leaving a candle on, but somebody else might be. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
and I do
Absolutely.
feel like for families, I feel like it's nice to spread out sometimes, or just like you said, like have spaces to, like when we were kids, just like have spaces to hang out and stuff.
Hmm. It
I
just
get
depends
the,
on the type of, I guess money is everything, right? Because I feel
yeah,
like,
and just your like just how you want your home to feel. Like, I don't think there's
right.
anything wrong with. I think you can still, they have, obviously it's very expensive to like
I mean,
own
even
like
just
a
like,
brownstone in New
hmm
York, but like that's technically, you know what I mean? Like I'm just I get
and just
wanting
even
to have
now, like
like the
Julia's
diversity.
downstairs, I'm up here.
Yeah,
Like
and I get
people
wanting the
have their space.
diversity in like in your space for long-term purposes. Like maybe this is okay now, but if you guys were have a baby and you have somebody that's like being loud next door, you can't control, like, you know what I mean? And obviously
Hmm.
people do it all the time. Like my mom grew up in an apartment her whole life. Like it's not a
Yeah.
problem. It's just I think that people can make different choices, like
Hell
if they
yeah. What
have
I'm
the
saying
privilege
is
to do
that, yeah,
so.
I agree with everything you're saying. What I'm saying is that I just find sometimes that people, it's okay to want to have your own personal space. It's okay to live in a house, whatever you want to do. I find though that sometimes people continue to I guess it's like they take ownership of things they don't even use. Like, yeah, that's what I'm more so saying. There's this like, it's like,
Mhm.
well,
I
I
mean,
can
that's
name
so
plenty
much
of
stuff.
people who like told me that they could never live in New York because they want like they want to be able to have space, but they don't ever use the space. You know what I'm saying? They never go out and sit in their backyard. They don't walk their dog in that, they don't take their dog outside there.
I want to know
They
who
have a
these people
basement
are.
that's unfinished or it's storage. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Mhm.
you have all this space, you want
I mean,
ownership of this. It's
storage is a
true.
perk.
That is, but it's like you have all this ownership of things you just don't fucking use. And so it's just
I
like
get it. That's
interesting.
consumerism on
And
a
I
whole,
think
like,
that comes, yeah, and I think that, I guess what I'm trying to say is I think it's related to this like obsession we have with ownership.
yes.
Um,
I think it all feeds back into the same, you know, the money to the goals of like what people like think they should have, like, I don't know, just like the image and
yeah, I think that there
part of
is
the
like,
rat
the white
race.
pimping fence, like like we have been sold what like family should look like. We have been sold what
Hmm.
love should look like. We have been sold what, the American family house
Absolutely.
should look like.
Advertising.
Right. And so I feel like, you know, people strive all their lives to get there, and we're influenced by it all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially people like to talk about like the boomer generation and like on TikTok, which I do agree with. So some of the things for sure. But yeah, just like, I mean, I can say I feel like the boomer generation kind of were like, just like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, and like did that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. They like saw the
Like,
formula and said, hook
yes.
me up,
And it's
literally.
like didn't think like, do I want to actually raise a
They
child?
want to be status, like very status quo, which is, maybe that's what they had to do.
I mean, it
But
was the age of Pisces. Everybody was very collective and
but
drinking
now
it.
everybody's, everything looks different now. And so it's interesting. It's just interesting. We'll see what our next generation, how they like,
I know.
do life. But I feel like we
We are
definitely,
evolving
they need
now.
to, I always say people need to thank the millennials, because I feel like we definitely started the framework of like, questioning the status quo. Maybe this,
Yeah.
maybe love doesn't look like this. Maybe family doesn't look like this. And then
Yeah, we
I
have
think
some sense.
we put in the, like, I feel like we started the fight and Gen Z is now continuing the fight, but it's like we put in, like I said, the groundwork. And so I think that's where we should end it
Yes,
today.
of like starting the uncomfortable conversations
Yep.
and yeah, I think this is definitely a longer conversation because I do like one day want to talk about how like the younger generation, like the leftist movement or whatever, like is just so funny and kind of sad, but also just like I just want us to all just get along. But
Yeah, we need to bring
also,
somebody on that pod to talk about that. I have a couple people in mind, but
okay, I can't wait. All
okay.
right, you
This has
guys.
been
Well, we love
fun.
you guys so much. You guys have been rocking with us. If you're new here, welcome. We're just getting started. Yay to 50 episodes. We also are going to have a new Beyhive buzz coming out very soon. We're going to be getting into these ticket prices. We have
Yeah,
a
we
lot
gotta drag
to say.
her one more time.
Alexis. And we're also going to talk
But we
about,
also bought them. We
yeah,
love
I
her.
did get my tickets, guys. I did, and I got them for the same price that Alex got, so 182 for the 200 section.
182.
I'm
Yeah,
not mad
believe
about
it.
it.
In New York, it happened.
In New York, yes. So yeah, guys, that'll be coming. We're also gonna get into Jay-Z's lawsuit being dismissed. Got a
We're
lot
also
to
going to talk
discuss.
about that new perfume she tried to sell to us. We're going to talk about the Levi's jeans she's trying to
Yes,
sell
that
us.
came out today.
We're going to talk about money, honey. So get
Yes,
ready.
tune in. All right, y'all. You know where to find us. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to email us your discussion topics at whoamitojudgepod@gmail.com. Also, remember to subscribe to Who Am I to Judge podcast on Spotify and everywhere you get your podcasts. If you love us, please rate us and review. And if you don't, leave us alone. Tell a friend to tell a friend. See y'all next week. Bye, friends.